Any second guessing here about not having Clark on the Olympic team?
From me? No.
Talent. Caitlin is just a rookie in the WNBA. Wasn't playing bad, but wasn't playing like she's playing now. If we had to do it all over again, the way that she's playing, she would be in really high consideration of making the team.
The controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark's snub from the Team USA roster for the Olympics has reached a boiling point, and it's becoming increasingly clear just how disastrous this decision has been. With the Olympics now underway, the consequences of leaving Clark off the team are stark and undeniable. Team USA, the undisputed powerhouse of women's basketball, a team that has historically dominated the Olympic Games, is now playing to some of the smallest crowds in the history of the event. For a team that always wins gold, this is nothing short of catastrophic. This isn't just a matter of empty seats, it's a glaring failure of leadership, a missed opportunity of monumental proportions, and a testament to the short-sightedness of those who made this decision. Caitlin Clark, a player who has sold out arenas at every level she's ever played, was left off the roster, and now Team USA is reaping the consequences of that blunder. The reality is that if Caitlin Clark were on that team, those seats wouldn't be empty. The arenas would be filled with fans eager to witness the next chapter in Clark's already legendary career. What makes this situation even more frustrating is that the decision makers at USA Basketball are now starting to realize their mistake. Don Staley, a member of the USA Basketball Committee and someone who played a key role in selecting the team, has essentially admitted that they got it wrong. In a recent interview, Staley acknowledged that if they had the chance to do it all over again, Caitlin Clark would be on the team. This is a significant admission, especially coming from someone as respected and experienced as Staley. Staley's comments, while couched in careful language, are a clear indication that Clark's exclusion was a mistake. She said that Clark, who is just a rookie in the WNBA, wasn't playing badly at the time the team was selected, but wasn't playing at the level she's at now. The implication is clear: had they known Clark would elevate her game to this level, she would have been a lock for the roster. But the problem with this reasoning is that it ignores the fact that Caitlin Clark's talent and potential were evident long before the roster was announced. Anyone who had been paying attention knew that Clark was a generational talent, someone who could have brought a new level of excitement and attention to the Olympic team. And it's not just about the missed opportunity to have one of the best players on the team, it's about what Caitlin Clark represents. She is, without question, one of the most exciting players in basketball today. Her presence on the court is electrifying, her ability to score and create plays is unmatched, and she has the kind of star power that draws fans in droves. In July alone, Clark was arguably the best player in the WNBA, averaging 20.3 points and 14.6 assists per game, numbers that are absolutely mind-blowing for a rookie. Since being snubbed by Team USA, Caitlin Clark has been on a tear, embarking on what can only be described as a revenge tour. She's been systematically dismantling and outplaying several of the very players who were selected for the Olympic team. Take, for example, her performances against Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner, and Kalea Copper, three of the biggest names in the WNBA and Team USA stalwarts. Clark not only held her own against these veterans, she dominated them. In one game, she put up 20 points and 13 assists, and in another, she came close to a triple-double. Against Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu of the New York Liberty, Clark recorded a triple-double with 19 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds. And of course, she led her Indiana Fever team to victories in both of these matchups. But the revenge tour didn't stop there. Caitlin Clark also took on the Minnesota Lynx, a team coached by none other than Cheryl Reeve, the head coach of the USA women's national team and one of the people responsible for leaving Clark off the roster. In that game, Clark put up 17 points and led the Fever to yet another victory, once again showing that she belongs among the elite. And then, to add insult to injury, Clark and the WNBA All-Stars defeated the USA basketball team at the All-Star weekend, further proving that her exclusion from the Olympic team was a colossal mistake. At this point, it's undeniable Caitlin Clark is already one of the best players in the WNBA. She leads the entire league in assists, she's clearly the best passer in the game, and it's only a matter of time before she's the best shooter as well. She's rewriting the record books every time she steps on the court, and her impact on the game is impossible to ignore. You would think that when assembling a team full of stars, you'd want someone like Clark, someone who can elevate the play of everyone around her, find the open player, and make the kind of plays that win games. But instead, Team USA announced their roster far earlier than any other country participating in the Olympics. While other countries waited until July to finalize their teams, the USA did it at the beginning of June. This decision makes no sense. If you're selecting a team based on the current WNBA season, why not wait to see who's performing at their best over a larger sample size? Why rush the decision, especially when the stakes are so high? What's even more frustrating is that Dawn Staley isn't the problem here. In fact, she deserves some credit for coming out and admitting that they might have gotten it wrong. Staley has always shown respect and support for Caitlin Clark, even going out of her way to acknowledge Clark's talent after the national championship game between Iowa and South Carolina earlier this year. The real issue lies with someone who seems determined to deflect any accountability for the decision to leave Clark off the team. That someone is Cheryl Reeve. Reeve, the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx and the USA women's national team, has made it clear that she's not a fan of the attention Caitlin Clark has been getting. Earlier this season, Reeve publicly criticized the WNBA for what she perceived as an overemphasis on Clark in their coverage, arguing that other players and teams weren't getting the attention they deserve. Since then, she's been giving some eye-opening answers whenever asked about Clark's exclusion from the Olympic team. In one instance, ahead of the Lynx's game against the Fever, Reeve was asked about Clark's inclusion on the national team. Her response: "Why the hell would I answer a national team question? I'm wearing the Lynx, and I'm the head coach of the national team, but I'm not the chair of the committee. Anybody want to venture into anything else?" And then, after the WNBA All-Star game, when Clark broke the record for most assists by a rookie, Reeve was asked if she had any regrets about not selecting Clark. Her response: "Any second guessing here about not having Clark on the Olympic team? From me, no." These responses are alarming. Typically, when a media-trained head coach is asked about a decision as significant as leaving a player like Caitlin Clark off the Olympic team, they give a measured, PR-friendly answer. They might acknowledge how great the player is, offer some reassurance that they're confident in their decision, and move on. But that's not what Reeve did. Instead, she flatly dismissed the question, provided no explanation, and refused to take any responsibility for the decision. It's as if she wants to distance herself from the decision entirely, despite being the head coach of the national team, a position that would logically come with significant input into roster selections. But here's the thing, I don't buy it. I don't believe that Reeve had no say in the selection process. When you're putting together a team to compete on the world stage, coaching matters, play style matters, and fit matters. It's hard to imagine that the committee wouldn't consult the head coach, the person who will be on the ground day in and day out trying to win with this group of players. The idea that Reeve had no input, that she was just handed a roster and told to work with it, doesn't make sense. Moreover, Reeve clearly understands how good Caitlin Clark is. During the WNBA All-Star game, Reeve's team face-guarded Clark full court, trying to get the ball out of her hands at every opportunity. That's a strategy you use against superstar players, against the likes of Luka Doncic or LeBron James in the NBA. It's a testament to Clark's ability and the respect she commands on the court. If that doesn't highlight how good Clark is, I don't know what does. When Caitlin Clark was first snubbed from the Olympic team, much of the outrage centered around the missed opportunity to grow the women's game on an international scale. Clark is the next big thing in women's basketball, a player with the potential to become a global superstar. Promoting her on the world stage would have been a no-brainer for TV ratings, sponsorships, and growing the sport. And now, with the dismal attendance numbers for Team USA's games, it's clear that those concerns were valid. If Caitlin Clark were on that team, people would be turning out in droves to watch her play. We've already seen the few fans who did show up at the games holding signs about Clark, a clear indication of the draw she would have been. What's even more frustrating is that the USA Basketball Committee is feeling the sting of their mistake now. They're realizing that Clark deserved to be there on merit. There simply aren't 12 players in the WNBA better than her right now. And the fact that they've tried to gaslight fans into justifying this decision, ignoring the fact that exceptions have been made in the past, only adds to the hypocrisy. Historically, USA Basketball has honored the tradition of selecting a college player for the Olympic team, not just on the men's side, but for the women as well. Diana Taurasi was chosen to play for Team USA while she was still in college. Candace Parker was selected before playing a single WNBA game in 2008. And perhaps the best example is Breanna Stewart, who was chosen to play at the Olympics in 2016 before playing a WNBA game, despite the fact that Nneka Ogwumike, who was the WNBA MVP that year, was passed over. If USA Basketball could justify snubbing the league's best player for a college star in the past, then there's no reason they couldn't have done the same with Caitlin Clark, the most popular women's basketball player ever. The truth is, Caitlin Clark wasn't selected because Cheryl Reeve and others in the WNBA are jealous. They see that she has accomplished in a short time what they have been striving to do for years: draw massive attention to women's basketball and elevate the game. And she's done it just by being herself and being incredibly good at basketball. This clearly bothers a lot of people across the league, including veterans like Taurasi and Breanna Stewart, who likely feel that they were just as good as Clark at the same age but never received the same level of hype and attention. But the reality is, Caitlin Clark is a generational talent and her impact on the game is undeniable. Team USA dominates Olympic basketball, especially on the women's side, where the rest of the world has yet to catch up. The best players in the WNBA are still overwhelmingly from the United States, and the team has the luxury of snubbing even the league MVP and still winning gold. Taking Caitlin Clark to Paris wouldn't have weakened Team USA. They would still be the clear favorites, even if she weren't as good as she is now. But the fact that she is as good as she is makes her exclusion all the more absurd. In fact, passing up on Clark has put more pressure on the team. So much of the WNBA's recent success, record viewership, record attendance, and a surge in popularity can be attributed to Caitlin Clark. People want to see her play, and now they're rooting for Team USA to lose without her. That kind of negativity, especially from those you expect to support you, can be incredibly disruptive to team morale. If Team USA doesn't win gold, the backlash and scrutiny will be intense. And here's the kicker: not being selected for Team USA might actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise for Caitlin Clark. She's been playing non-stop basketball from the beginning of her senior year at Iowa straight into the WNBA without much of a break. For the first time in a long time, she's had a chance to recharge, to work on her game, and to come back even better. By the end of the season, she could very well be the best point guard in the WNBA. And when we look back on this season, comparing Caitlin Clark's rookie stats to those of the players who were on that Olympic roster, it's going to be clear just how ridiculous it was to leave her off the team. Years from now, we'll look at the roster, see the players who were chosen, and wonder why on earth Caitlin Clark wasn't picked. And because of that, Team USA is under far more pressure than they likely realized to bring home the gold. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on Don Staley's comments essentially admitting that Caitlin Clark should have been on the team? Who do you think Clark should have been selected ahead of? I'm eager to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you've made it this far, I've got another Caitlin Clark WNBA related video that I know you'll enjoy, so click the big box in the middle of your screen and go watch that. If you enjoy it, consider subscribing to the channel. On that note, this is DKM signing out until next time. Peace.